à tous de DDO. Attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top, allumage et décollage de VV06.
O EIC cria apenas um livro de regras, o que penso que facilitará muito a vida das empresas. O segundo problema estrutural que identificámos era que o processo de seleção das empresas apoiadas era muito avesso ao risco e muito desatualizado. Olhando para uma amostra das empresas apoiadas nos últimos anos, vimos que havia claramente uma excessiva prudência na decisão, o que levava à exclusão de empresas muito interessantes. Aliás, com alguma tristeza, olhávamos para as grandes startups europeias e víamos que raramente se tinham candidatado, raramente tinham tocado à porta e, quando tinham feito, raramente eram bem-sucedidas. Tínhamos aqui, portanto, um problema estrutural. E penso que tal devia ser um processo no qual os avaliadores tinham pouca experiência de capital de risco e em que a avaliação era feita com base num processo escrito e bastante conservador. Qual é que foi a solução? Foi mudarmos a composição dos júris, mudá-la radicalmente, que hoje inclui perfis muito mais próximos do mercado e do setor de investimentos, de capital de risco, e mais importante do que isso, esses júris, esses painéis, recebem instruções para serem mais abertos e mais tolerantes a soluções completamente novas. Passámos a exigir, algo que foi absolutamente crucial, a exigir entrevistas. Como vos dizia, antes o processo era totalmente feito de forma escrita. E isso criava imensos problemas. Neste momento, não. Neste momento, cada empresa se candidata tem que fazer o seu pitch, tem que confrontar as suas ideias junto a um painel e defender as suas ideias. E isso penso que melhora claramente o processo de seleção. Por último, temos hoje também um comitê de investimentos composto por pessoas com uma enorme experiência em capital de risco, em investimentos, e esse grupo de pessoas audita, faz auditorias regulares às decisões tomadas e penso que isso também vai gradualmente melhorar e afinar esse processo de decisão e torná-lo mais aberto à inovação disruptiva e inovação em deep tech. O terceiro e último problema que vos queria falar era que tínhamos a sensação que se tinha perdido a ligação entre a inovação e a ciência. Constatámos que a maior parte dos projetos apoiados eram na chamada área do consumer internet, com pouca ou nenhuma ligação ao meio científico e académico. E sabíamos que tal não fazia sentido por várias razões. Primeiro, este setor é um espaço relativamente mais seguro na inovação e em que, portanto, existem menos falhas de mercado. Sabíamos, por exemplo, que, aliás, que o European Research Council era uma demonstração palpável de que havia um enorme potencial em deep tech e no empreendedorismo de base científica, mas que havia algumas barreiras que tinham que ser resolvidas. A solução passou, portanto, por falar com os gestores do European Research Council, compreender melhor o que é que podia estimular os cientistas a seguir uma via empreendedora. A solução passou também por envolver o meio académico e científico e criar uma espécie de enviesamento positivo para projetos na área de deep tech ou áreas mais científicas. Em resumo, foram estas algumas das motivações para a criação do European Innovation Council, que hoje apresentamos em Portugal. Como podem imaginar, foi um processo com muitos pais e mães, com muitos contributos, muito trabalho nos Estados-membros, na Comissão Europeia, no Parlamento Europeu. E, num certo sentido, com este lançamento, o trabalho difícil passa para as vossas mãos, para instituições nacionais, como a Agência de Inovação, que agora o irão promover e vão ajudar os candidatos a ser bem-sucedidos, mas principalmente o trabalho passa para os empreendedores que hoje nos ouvem. Para aqueles que têm ideias com potencial transformador, que têm ideias arriscadas, que têm a perseverança e o talento para as levar ao mercado. O European Innovation Council tem que ser uma ajuda constante, rápida e flexível ao vosso lado. Mas para que tal aconteça, temos que contar com o vosso entusiasmo e com o vosso apoio, mas também, e ainda mais importante, com as vossas críticas e com as vossas sugestões de melhoria. Portanto, muito obrigado pela vossa atenção e as maiores felicidades para os vossos projetos.
António, muito obrigada. Não imagino melhor introdução do que esta à nossa sessão. Eu chamava então agora o Carlos Oliveira, por favor, para a sua intervenção. Olá, Carlos, bom dia, obrigada por estar aqui outra vez connosco.
Olá, Muito bom dia a todos, também um bom dia especial ao António Vicente. De facto, este lançamento em Portugal do European Innovation Council é uma marca importante porque Portugal, como todos os Estados-membros, mas aqui focamos hoje em Portugal, tem agora uma oportunidade de acolher e utilizar um conjunto de novos instrumentos que o European Innovation Council vem pôr à disposição de empreendedores, inovadores, cientistas, também das próprias capitais de risco, para que possamos, de facto, ter uma Europa mais inovadora e um país também mais inovador. Como o António Vicente referia há pouco, ele esteve desde a gênese da ideia e da visão que o Carlos Moedas teve para a necessidade deste lançamento de um Conselho Europeu da Inovação, que, por um lado, como ele próprio disse muito bem, tornasse um mundo muito fragmentado num mundo menos fragmentado e muito mais ágil, e que resolvesse um conjunto de problemas. Eu felizmente tive a oportunidade desde 2016 participar também em muitos dos fóruns de discussão do European Innovation Council e de poder, com um conjunto de colegas de vários países europeus, identificarmos aquilo que eram, de facto, as barreiras do ponto de vista europeu para o desenvolvimento da inovação na Europa e aquilo que, do ponto de vista das ferramentas da Comissão Europeia, poderiam ser melhoradas. E, portanto, esse foi, ao longo destes últimos 4 anos, o papel das diversas equipas das quais fiz parte e que estiveram, digamos, a ajudar a montar este Conselho Europeu da Inovação. Eu acho que há aqui temas muito relevantes a destacar. Para já, esta ideia de que é possível que a Europa volte a ser um player internacional relevante na inovação e na tecnologia no mundo. Aliás, um dos pressupostos da criação do European Innovation Council é exatamente o facto de, se olharmos para as empresas tecnológicas mais valiosas do mundo, ou são europeias, ou são americanas, ou são chinesas. Não há grandes empresas europeias aqui. E esta foi também uma das muitas discussões que tivemos, é um pouco incompatível com a excelente ciência que se faz na Europa. Ou seja, uma das questões que foi sempre muito debatida neste tema do European Innovation Council é o facto de nós termos excelente ciência, mas depois muita dificuldade em que esta ciência se torne, eu diria, muito mais do que em startups, em empresas de grande dimensão ou de média e grande dimensão, que possam criar postos de trabalho relevantes na Europa, que possam criar exportações para o mundo e que possam colocar a Europa também num tema cada vez mais importante em termos de soberania tecnológica, numa posição muito mais relevante do que aquela a que chegou nos últimos anos. E, portanto, o European Innovation Council vai aqui ajudar em muitas destas coisas. Uma das mudanças muito significativas é também o facto de, como o António dizia, deixar de haver calls muito bem definidas com determinados temas para candidaturas, mas sim acreditar que os inovadores e os cientistas devem aparecer com as suas ideias, com as suas melhores ideias e com os seus melhores projetos e, portanto, nesta lógica de bottom-up, que o mercado, os cientistas é que podem saber melhor do que a Comissão de quais são áreas relevantes para atuarem e para trazerem tecnologias para o mercado que possam, de facto, fazer esta enorme diferença para o futuro de todos nós e para o futuro da Europa. Há vários instrumentos e penso que desde o lançamento já foram, do lançamento na semana passada, portanto, já foram muitos deles abordados, mas eu gostaria aqui de destacar alguns deles. Por um lado, o Pathfinder, portanto, um instrumento que evolui do FET e que quer apoiar equipas de investigação a trazerem aquilo que é Deep Technologies ou Breakthrough Technologies para mais próximo daquilo que possa vir a ser o mercado e, portanto, poderem candidatar-se a incentivos importantes do ponto de vista financeiro, sempre, e essa é também uma enorme característica do European Innovation Council, que é o facto de estarmos num ambiente altamente competitivo e, aliás, como o António Vicente referiu, parte grande da inspiração vem também do sucesso do Conselho Europeu de Investigação e com esse Conselho aprendemos que, de facto, a concorrência torna mais difícil, mas, por outro lado, também a aprovação dos projetos, mas, por outro lado, também coloca os melhores projetos numa visibilidade muito grande que pode favorecer não apenas pelo financiamento, mas também pela visibilidade e pelo acesso a corporates e a outros stakeholders relevantes do mundo da inovação e do empreendedorismo. Mas este primeiro programa do EIC Pathfinder, nesta lógica da tal one-stop shop para a inovação, que apoia desde os cientistas a quem está mais próximo da ciência com o EIC Pathfinder, que depois tem também agora o EIC Transition para que se possam melhorar tecnologias novas e desenvolver business cases que possam ajudar a estas tecnologias chegarem ao mercado. Depois, numa fase seguinte deste fluxo, temos o EIC Accelerator, portanto, que permite a empresas, startups e PMEs, acederem a financiamentos a fundo perdido até 2 milhões de subsídios, até 2,5 milhões de euros, portanto, um valor muito significativo, mas também depois com esta enorme novidade que é o EIC Fund, que pode financiar até 15 milhões de euros projetos de inovação deep tech e que precisem de facto deste capital, que não o encontrariam de outra forma no mercado. E não o encontrariam no mercado porquê? Porque ainda estão numa fase de muito risco e aqui aquilo que o EIC quer ser é um atrator não só de bons projetos de longo prazo, mas também do capital que está no mercado e, portanto, isso é também desde o início uma das grandes linhas de desenho do European Innovation Council, que é trazer os investidores existentes para poderem investir e co-investir com o fundo em projetos que se calhar não investiriam por serem demasiado risco numa fase inicial, mas poderem tomar esse risco com a ajuda aqui do EIC Fund, que é de facto um fundo, como disse, que pode ir até aos 15 milhões de euros por empresa apoiada em termos de capital. Depois existem um conjunto de outros instrumentos, os Business Acceleration Services, que permitem, por exemplo, o acesso a grandes empresas europeias, e é também uma das grandes mais-valias que o EIC, ao unir um conjunto de programas, vem trazer também esta capacidade de ajudar empresas a chegarem aos seus potenciais clientes ou aos grandes corporates europeus. Há também toda a vertente dos prémios que estão a ser lançados e também de uma aposta grande em trazer mais mulheres para a inovação, para todo este mundo e também nos países com menor adesão a este tipo de projetos possam também ter mais presença. Para Portugal, aquilo que temos, e em algumas conversas que tive com a ANIC, que de facto está muito motivada para promover em Portugal este novo instrumento, aquilo que nós efetivamente temos que fazer para já é conhecer bem, enquanto startups, enquanto investigadores, enquanto cientistas, enquanto capitais de risco, enquanto stakeholders do sistema de inovação, conhecermos bem o programa e as suas diversas e os seus diversos funding opportunities ou as suas diversas oportunidades, seja de acesso a financiamento, seja a serviços. E com isso preparamos cada vez melhores candidaturas. Uma das mudanças muito significativas foi, de facto, este júri muito mais orientado para o mercado, mas também o facto de haver agora uma primeira fase de seleção que passa pelo envio de um vídeo de explicação e só depois dessa fase é que é pedido um conjunto de informação adicional. E, portanto, esta mudança vai também trazer mais facilidade no acesso às candidaturas e também fazer com que os bons projetos, quando chegam à fase da entrevista, e como já aqui foi dito, essa é uma das grandes novidades, é que nas entrevistas não é apenas aquilo que se escreveu que conta, isso também conta, mas conta muito também quem está no júri, perceber efetivamente que o empreendedor, o inovador, o cientista respira aquele projeto, que entende todas as suas variáveis relevantes e com isso convencer humanos que estão ali perante os empreendedores ou perante os cientistas de que de facto aquele é um ótimo projeto e isso fez já durante a fase piloto perceber-se que há mudanças muito significativas neste modelo em termos de selecionar melhores projetos e projetos que de outra forma provavelmente não chegariam a esta fase. E, portanto, para as startups nacionais, para os investigadores nacionais, para o capital de risco nacional, conhecer bem o programa, conhecer também as diversas iniciativas de cooperação, por exemplo, para as capitais de risco, a oportunidade de estarem nas redes, conhecerem os projetos e poderem, eventualmente, até decidir co-investir com o EIC Fund, é uma das oportunidades. Para os empreendedores conhecerem o EIC Transition, o EIC Accelerator, poderem candidatar-se nestes novos modelos muito mais ágeis e, portanto, tentarem obter financiamentos que podem ir até os 2,5 milhões em termos de subsídios ou 15 milhões em capital, com projetos que obviamente têm que ser projetos de grande impacto. E esse, eu diria que é de facto a pedra de toque também do European Innovation Council, que é este enfoque naquilo que são as tecnologias mais disruptivas, as tecnologias que podem mudar e criar novos mercados, as tecnologias que precisam de capital paciente, isto é, de capital que não tem o mesmo ritmo, que tem projetos que estão mais próximo do mercado e daí precisam deste apoio público. E no fim do dia, aquilo que daqui a 10 anos, eu diria, quem esteve envolvido e quem está envolvido no European Innovation Council gostaria seguramente de poder olhar para trás, era dizer, de facto, a Europa está numa posição muito mais positiva do ponto de vista do impacto tecnológico e da inovação no contexto mundial, que efetivamente o EIC teve aqui um papel de acelerador e ao mesmo tempo de permitir criar o contexto adequado para que haja mais sucesso e mais capital disponível, mas também acesso às grandes corporates europeias, que são potenciais clientes das startups, e que pudéssemos de facto dizer que este foi um momento que fez uma mudança significativa numa Europa em que podemos criar mais emprego qualificado, mais ciência que chega ao mercado e que cria valor económico. E obviamente para quem esteve do início das primeiras discussões neste projeto, neste programa, e é português, aquilo que eu muito gostaria era que efetivamente pudéssemos ter mais empresas portuguesas a acederem a estes mecanismos para que possam de facto escalar. Nós durante muito tempo referimos que era importante haver muitas startups em Portugal, e isso é relevante assumindo a seguinte tese: precisamos de muitas startups para depois termos algumas de média e grande dimensão. Assumindo que esta tese funciona, aquilo em que nós temos que nos focar agora, até porque temos criado muitas startups, é de facto como é que passamos estas startups para o seu estágio seguinte, que é o estágio de crescimento, de escalar, de poderem ter clientes de dimensão, de poderem ter mercados cada vez maiores, e para isso o EIC é o instrumento adequado. Seguramente um instrumento muito competitivo, estarão em concorrência os melhores cérebros e as melhores ideias europeias, independentemente do seu país, porque o programa é pan-europeu e, portanto, não se foca num país, mas como português muito gostaria que, e aqui com o apoio da ANI e de outras entidades em Portugal, pudéssemos ter um aumento ainda na taxa de conversão em termos de mais empresas, mais programas financiados, para que, de facto, Portugal possa também continuar a evoluir nesta senda do empreendedorismo tecnológico, da inovação tecnológica e muito nesta transição de ciência para a tecnologia e para o mercado e a criação de valor económico, que é de facto algo que temos que resolver do ponto de vista europeu em termos de grande desafio e em que Portugal pode também aqui ajudar na resolução desse desafio. Portanto, aqui ficam algumas notas nesta fase inicial desta apresentação em Portugal e dizer que naturalmente contém também naquilo que eu puder ajudar também comigo, mas essencialmente eu diria com a ANI e com outros organismos que em Portugal vão seguramente querer trazer mais empresas, mais investigadores para este programa. Muito obrigado a todos.
Obrigada, Carlos. Vou pegar numa ideia que foi que o Carlos lançou, que foi o entusiasmo da ANI em acompanhar este programa e as pessoas que participam neste programa ao longo do programa 4. Estamos mesmo entusiasmados e interessados em acompanhá-lo e em resolver problemas e arranjar soluções. Com este mote, eu apresentava o próximo vídeo, que é da Ruby Nanomed, Sara Abaldcela e Lorena Diegas.
Ruby Nanomed is a spin-off company from INL, the International Iberian Nanotechnology Laboratory, located in Braga. INL has the mission of developing technology to solve society's great challenges. At Ruby Nanomed, we provide technologies for non-invasive monitoring of cancer progression. 90% of cancer-related deaths are due to metastases. This happens because in the clinic, the patients are monitored using imaging technologies that do not provide any updated information about the molecular characteristics of the tumor. One can get this information from liquid biopsy, the analysis, for instance, of circulating tumor cells or CTCs that are the responsible of the metastatic lesion. These cells are available in circulation. We have developed a technology called the Ruby chip, which is a microfluidic system, fully disposable, that is able to isolate the CTCs directly from the blood sample with no pre-processing and very high efficiency in an unbiased way, just based on their size and deformability. Together with our disposable cartridge, we have also developed an automated unit. And with the chip and the automated unit, we can develop a report for the oncologist with updated information about the mission. After developing the proof of concept, we actually compared our technology in the clinic in a cohort of metastatic breast cancer patients and compared the results against the gold standard called cell search. With this, we were able to prove an increased sensitivity of our technology, and we were able to stratify patients in different populations with prognostic relevance. Not only this, but we actually demonstrated that we can detect metastases 6 months to 1 year earlier. We intend to address the circulating tumor cell market first, which is mainly dominated by research, and then finalizing clinical trials to enter the cancer diagnostic market and later on the companion diagnostic market. Our business model is based on a razor blade approach, and we intend to place the automated unit in the clinic on a leasing contract and charge by a minimum number of consumables used. We developed our proof of concept at INL, and ever since we incorporated the company in 2019, we have raised just above 1 million euros in competitive funding programs and innovation awards. To enter the market, we still need further investment, and for that, we have been applying to the EIC Accelerator to be able to scale up the fabrication of the chip, do clinical trials, and achieve certification, and finally enter the clinical market. In the meantime, while we achieve certification of our technology, we can still use it as a research use only. We have actually a lot of interest to run these research projects, and this is how we applied for the FETOpen program. The BioSelfie project that will start in April this year will use Rubin Nanomet's technology to isolate circulating tumor cells that will be incorporated on a new sensor that will allow for single-cell phenotypic analysis. The founders of Rubin Nanomet are Lorena Dieguez, Paulina Piairo, and Sara Abalde, the three of them researchers from INL. The team is further complemented with Enrique Sanchez and Liliana Pires in the areas of business, quality, and regulation. But most importantly, the whole team is passionate about bringing technology to the clinic for the benefit of patients.
Muito obrigada. Não sei se as responsáveis pela Rubin Nanomet gostavam de dizer algumas palavras a seguir ao filme.
Sim, obrigada. Aqui a Lorena Dieguez.
Lorena, ok.
Obrigada. Queríamos só dizer que a EIC, a European Innovation Council, tem sido muito importante para a Rubin Nanomet e, em geral, para as pequenas empresas e para as startups, sendo que nos ajudam a demonstrar e a escalar a nossa tecnologia inovadora junto dos stakeholders que são relevantes para a tecnologia e particularmente no mercado. E, ademais, para cruzar a que se chama Valley of Death, não é? Conseguindo, assim, diminuir o risco das nossas tecnologias e ter uma melhor oportunidade para levantar investimento privado e chegar finalmente ao mercado.
Sim, também concordo muito com a Lorena, mas achamos que também é muito importante para as empresas cá no Portugal, para aumentar a competitividade que bem falavam Carlos e António, das empresas portuguesas, porque a inovação em países como Portugal, Espanha, Itália, ainda não está tão integrada na nossa cultura, e achamos que este financiamento europeu é muito importante para demonstrar tanto a corporate funding como venture funding e também o governo que é imprescindível prover estas pequenas empresas de financiamento para progredir na inovação, ser competitivos com os demais países da Europa e a nível mundial também. E este é o push que estas pequenas empresas precisamos cá em Portugal. Agradecemos também a termos invitado a esta sessão.
Lorena, Sara, muito obrigada pelo vosso testemunho. Sem o testemunho dos empresários de sucesso nestes instrumentos, se calhar ficávamos com a visão muito menos nítida sobre o que realmente é importante para lá chegarmos. Eu apresento agora o próximo vídeo, que é da Ophiomics, José Leal.
Olá a todos. Hello everybody. So I'm the CEO and founder of Ophiomics. I'm here together with Joana Vaz. She's also co-founder with me of Ophiomics, and we're developing precision medicine solutions for liver cancer. So I guess you can see my screen. My presentation. Just want to confirm that. Can you see my presentation?
Sim.
Good. Okay, so we're focusing on liver cancer. It's a cancer that kills 3 people every 2 minutes and it's second most common cause of death worldwide. And we're developing a portfolio of solutions that support the clinical decision-making at every step in the liver cancer patient journey. So what we're aiming is to select the right treatment for the right patient at every step of the liver cancer patient journey. And we applied for the European Innovation Council with our first tool called HepatoPredict. So transplantation is an approach that can cure liver cancer patients, but as you can imagine, liver transplantation is limited by the available number of livers. And so it's critical that we know which patients can benefit from this procedure. And that's what HepatoPredict does. It's a clinical decision algorithm based on biomarkers and clinical variables that selects cancer patients for liver transplantation. And so I'm going to depart a little bit from the picture and tell you that before the Pre-IC Accelerator, what we had was preliminary and published results. We already had data on 2 patients, but a provisional patent application, and we're experiencing a lot of difficulty in obtaining credible proposals from venture capital because our proposal was always deemed as too risky, promising but too risky. And this is exactly what the IC Accelerator promised to do, is to select risky projects and bet on them. And we were successful in obtaining one of the first grants. And so we obtained funding, and our project started on 1st of May 2020. And since then, we set up a completely new lab. We recruited a completely new team. We've invested in our method of optimization to the point where we have something that far exceeds current standards, which is now subject of 1 PCT patent, and we're now developing more patents. We have a full working prototype, including both on the laboratory side, but also on all the IT infrastructure, on the portals or the clinical reports. And we're now investing all our time in industrializing this project and go to market, and obviously on the clinical trials that are needed to validate this project. And we are recruiting already with an open clinical trial. And we're developing new products. And this is where a point where you should ask, what was the effect that the IC Accelerator had on us? Well, above all, the IC Accelerator gave us a lot of credibility when we're talking to venture capitalists that are critical for us to scale to the next level, because you don't take a product to market in the health domain without a lot of money. And we now, instead of we chasing them, they are chasing us. We obviously have a lot of credibility when you talk to manufacturers that with whom we are discussing the fabrication of the components of our kits, and obviously with the VCs. From day one, the focus on the go-to-market strategy forced us to think on global markets. We had the hardest interview of our lives with the EIC Accelerator Council, and everything was about market, market, market. So, and that focus very early on. And obviously there's some flexibility associated with the fact that you have grant plus equity funding. And obviously, and not the least, the fact that you have the amounts of money compatible with taking R&D to market and not a simple grant is very important. So at Ophthalmics, we are aiming to become the market leaders in liver cancer precision medicine, and with a series of products to build a better future for liver cancer patients. And in our opinion, this would have been impossible without the IC Accelerator grants. And we hope that other Portuguese groups decide to apply, because it's a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Ok, sorry. Desculpem. O próximo vídeo será da Smartex Ana Tavares.
The defective production in the textile industry costs $33 billion and harms the environment every single day. Millions of dollars are spent trying to fight this issue. At SmartX, we can solve this problem using computer vision and artificial intelligence to detect defects during the fabric production stage, where 80% of all defects are produced. The current solutions are dependent on the inspection workers looking at the textiles day and night, trying to spot almost invisible defects with their own eyes. Even if 100% of the fabrics were inspected, the defective production could not be avoided. At SmartX, we've developed a patented system of cameras that can plug and play in almost every knitting machine. The SmartX system acts preventatively during the fabric production stage, stopping the machines when a defect is detected. This system avoids defective fabrics going unnoticed until the dyeing and finishing stage, which can result in a huge waste of resources. Our most recent case studies showed that we can save monthly around €1,000 per machine, 22 hours of production time, and 130 kilos of defective fabric. The indirect resource savings goes up to 20,000 liters of water, 1,200 kilowatts of energy, and 230 kilos of CO2, just by the avoidance of dyeing and finishing of defective fabrics. While helping companies by improving quality, transparency, and traceability in the supply chain, our powerful machine learning algorithms also made the dream of this $3 trillion industry come true, reducing the defective production to close to 0%.
Ana Tavares tem a palavra agora.
Yeah, hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation to share this our technology. So as you were able to see on the video, SmartX is a tech-based company providing technology to the textile industry with the aim to reduce textile waste due to defective production to close to 0%. SmartX was founded in 2018, and it is considered nowadays as a fast-growing startup. Some of the most important actions taken in the company to allow us to be a fast-growing startup today, as the team expansion or piloting the technology in industrial environments or developing our network, etc., were possible due to the EIC Accelerator support. And even the time to market was very much improved due to the possibility to invest in people and in technology before having what we call the paying clients. So this was only possible due to the private investment that the company was able to get, and the EIC Accelerator program. So I guess that the most important message that we can pass as a startup is that this kind of support from the European Commission, it is very important to keep the pace of the science and technology aligned with the European industry, and also to give credibility to companies on a very, very early stage, which is our case. So we are very thankful to the EIC Accelerator team for giving us and believing that this technology could really change the textile industry.
Obrigada por mais testemunho de sucesso nesta empreitada. Eu anuncio agora o filme, o vídeo do Sound Particles, Nuno Fonseca.
Hi, my name is Nuno Fonseca. I'm the founder and CEO at Sound Particles, and it's a pleasure to be here sharing with you some of the things that we have been doing. Computer graphics was probably the biggest revolution that happened in the entertainment industry over the last 50 years, from animation to visual effects, from video games to VR. But now imagine if it could use the same technology, not for image, but for sound, because that's exactly what we do at Sound Particles. We create 3D audio software that brings the power of computer graphics into the sound world and allow us to create epic soundscapes with thousands of sounds around you. And that's the reason why our products are used in all major Hollywood studios in productions such as Game of Thrones, Frozen, or Star Wars. Our products are also used in video game companies like Blizzard, Epic Games, PlayStation, and we can even use this technology for artificial intelligence. 2 years ago, we were accepted on the SME Instrument Program from the European Union, and it's a pleasure to tell you that it's been an amazing experience. Probably you are thinking, okay, it's too hard, too complicated, a lot of paperwork and bureaucracy, and trust me, I thought the exact same things, but my experience actually tells you that really it's something much easier than that. First of all, the process is highly efficient. Even if you are not accepted on your first attempt and you need to reapply, it still takes less time than the normal national programs. Second, you really feel that the people involved are there to help you. And everyone involved in the process, and I'm not talking only about the mentors, that are great, by the way, but everyone involved really wants to succeed, to have a great project and leave a mark in the world. And third, for someone that has already passed by some national programs, I was amazed by the lack of paperwork and bureaucracy. They trust you, you trust them, and this trust between us is something that is priceless. So if you have a very good idea and you really think that it's going to be the big next thing, don't hesitate, submit something for these programs because it's really worth the time that you may invest in the project. And for finalizing, for the European Union, keep up the good work. Bye.
Nuno, muito obrigada. Eu gostaria de acrescentar alguma coisa à sua apresentação tão esclarecedora.
Bom dia a todos.
Bom dia.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. As you can imagine, it's been a fantastic journey for someone like us creating software to work with Hollywood Studios. And of course, during this entire journey, it was wonderful to get the support of the European Union that was there to help us to leave a mark in this US-dominated market. And so to finalize, I really want to pass the message that this kind of program, you are talking with someone that really care about you and your project. And I think it's the best compliment that you can do with this kind of program. So don't hesitate. Yes, you may invest some time to know a little more about these programs, but my experience is that they are really rewarding for startups like ourselves that want to continue their project. So don't hesitate. Thank you.
Eu passo a palavra agora ao Keith Sequeira. Keith, if you could just wrap up all these presentations previous to you, I would appreciate. Thank you very much for being here with us, and I hope you will be here more often, even more often along these years of the program.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. Maybe just before I start, I have a few slides. Let me check. You can see the slides, okay? Okay, and also, I mean, it's great to hear the stories, the examples of the companies, the projects that we've just heard, because the European Innovation Council is in a way brand new. We've just launched it last week. We had a fantastic ceremony with President of the Commission, von der Leyen. We had President Macron. We had nice messages from Prime Minister Costa. We had a nice support from Minister Heto from Portugal. But it's also something that we are building on the experience of what we've been doing over the last few years. And it's great to hear that this is already having such a positive impact on so many companies and projects and technologies, as we've just heard. So let me try to very quickly sort of summarize what the EIC is and what are the new elements now that we have moved to what we call the full European Innovation Council under the Horizon Europe program. So it has a dedicated budget of just over 10 billion euros for the next 7 years. So we have about 1.5 billion euros this year to support innovation, support innovators. We are using some money from Next Generation EU because this is considered extremely relevant to the economic recovery. We have a simple mission to find, to develop, to scale up the next big ideas, the breakthrough technologies, the new things. We are creating a one-stop shop for high potential innovators. And it's quite unique, we believe, in the world in combining a program about advanced research, so the Pathfinder program, with an accelerator for startups and for scale-ups, all within a single initiative. And we are changing the way that we manage the funding. We've been doing a lot already, but we will be introducing more flexible, more proactive management, and we are recruiting in-house experts to help us with this that we call program managers. So the reason we're doing this is really to tackle some of the limitations we have seen in European innovation performance. We're number one in the world for breakthrough science, but we're not translating that into innovation. And we are stronger in the incremental innovations in the existing sectors rather than disruptive ideas. If we look at why that is the case, we see that there is quite a barrier in getting from the laboratory into a viable business model with a market. And we also see, and we just heard very clearly from Ophthalmics as well, that the financing of high-risk companies is very difficult for venture capitalists to go. Then we are also trying to tackle some of the problems with ecosystem. There's many great ecosystems in different parts of Europe, but not really joined up at European level, and certainly not including all of the different regions. And we're missing a lot of female talent in the innovation system. What we're trying to do with the EIC is to position Europe in a global leadership position for the next wave of technologies. We've seen that the US and increasingly China has led on the last wave of innovation around the consumer internet, digital, but there's a whole new wave of innovations. We're calling it deep tech around transformations of energy, health, transport, many other areas where science and engineering is an important component, where we are very strong in Europe. So we believe that we need the EIC to really build new companies, to help existing companies to adopt these technologies, to lead on these technologies. So a few messages from what we've learned over the last 3 years since we've been running the European Innovation Council in pilot mode under the existing rules and instruments of Horizon 2020. We've seen that actually the offer of funding, particularly for the accelerator, is hugely appreciated. It's a big market gap. We provide grants of up to 2.5 million euros. And we provide now equity finance of up to 15 million euros. So we make investments in single companies at European level of potentially up to 17.5 million euros. As well as the funding, we provide coaching, mentors. We have a fantastic set of corporate days to broker between startups and corporate buyers or partners. We do this now with procurers. We have investor events. We have visits to overseas trade fairs. So we're building up a whole range of expertise support to help the projects. So this is about the accelerator, the companies, but it's also about the Pathfinder, that we will help the researchers on IP issues, about how to think about spin-out companies or commercialization opportunities. We saw a massive demand, particularly last year. We received close to 14,000 applications from startups and SMEs. Since 2014 and the preceding SME instrument, we now have a portfolio of over 5,000 companies that we have supported. And we've seen an encouraging increase in the number of companies with a female CEO or founder. So we see that this is starting to work. We're close to 30%, and that's up on 10% a year before. So we're paying particular attention to get more women leaders in companies, innovators, to come forward to the EIC. We have a primarily bottom-up program, so we're not trying to preempt where the innovations are. But when we look at the thematics, we see that we're supporting a lot of innovations, technologies in the Green Deal area, in the health area, and in the digital area. And I think the examples we heard today are very much related to this. So these are actually the main areas of European policy, and where we're looking at a very macroeconomic sense about the big transformations. We've also been tracking the impact. So we've been looking at how successful are these companies at attracting further investments. And we've seen that they've attracted over 5 billion of private investment, mostly, subsequent to receiving support from the EIC. So that's close to €3 for every €1 that we put in from the EU budget. We had our first unicorn company with EIC support, a company called CellLink that came from Sweden. Very interesting that they took part in both the Pathfinder for developing the technology and the accelerator. They provide services for biotech companies. We also have over 40 what we call centaurs with market valuations of over 100 million euros. So in this very short time, we can already have some big successes in terms of our support. To look a little bit at the data and how Portugal has done during the pilot phase, you'll see here that Portugal performs, I would say, sort of in the middle of the set of European countries. What you see here is the amount of funding normalized by GDP, so normalized by the size of the economy. And you will see here that that on the Pathfinder, Portugal has performed actually in the upper half. And for the accelerator, Portugal has performed at a very similar level to many other countries, such as France, Spain, but also not far behind some of the innovation leaders, such as Sweden and Switzerland. If I look at the last year of the pilot, which is when we had a big reform and we introduced the blended finance with the equity support, we have seen that we have supported 4 companies in the last year from Portugal. Over the 7-year period, we supported 119 startups, SMEs from Portugal. The 4 that we have supported, it's 2 of them we've provided grants, but we also have 2, and we had 1 presenting earlier, that is our first set of companies that we are investing equity through the EIC fund. We also have awarded Seals of Excellence to close to 70 startups, SMEs from Portugal in the last year. So these Seals of Excellence are where we judge with our evaluators, with our juries, that these companies and their proposals meet absolutely the criteria for funding from the EIC, but where we are unable to fund because of our budget limitations. And I know in Portugal, there have been initiatives taken to support these companies. Just a word on the success rates. The program has become extremely competitive. You will see here that success rates in terms of the projects funded, and this is below 5% for all countries. And for most countries, it's below 2%. So it is a very competitive program. And you'll see that we're making some changes to address this. But you'll also see that Portugal performs relatively well in terms of its success rate. And then the pink bars here in terms of the success in getting Seals of Excellence, high quality proposals, which is close to 30%. So we see a lot of quality, high quality proposals coming from Portugal. If I turn now to what we launched last week, so the full European Innovation Council under the Horizon Europe programme. This is an overview of the main funding instruments. We're covering the full technology readiness levels from the Pathfinder to the accelerator, but we have a new programme in the middle, which we call Transition. We're testing it out this year, and that will be to support promising proof of concepts from the research phase to develop into a viable business case, both in terms of the early testing, validation of the technology, but also building the business case, the market application to the stage where that can be assessed as whether it's a viable commercial opportunity or not. All of these funding, they are under this single mission. With the focus on breakthrough market creating deep tech innovations. We have the board of innovators. Carlos Oliveira, that we heard from earlier, is a member of the current board who advise us, set the strategy, and really make sure that what we do is meeting the needs of innovators. All of these projects get access to the business acceleration services. They will all have the interactions with the program managers. And we're also using the EIC to get more follow-up impacts from other parts of Horizon, other initiatives such as the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, and also in the future from national programs. So here you'll see we have a very diverse set of members on our board, from researchers to tech transfer to entrepreneurs to investors to ecosystem builders. So we've very much appreciated and would like to keep with this high diversity from the innovation community. And we expect in April to launch a call for new members of the EIC board. The board put out a statement last year as a vision for the European Innovation Council, which is guiding very much what we are trying to do. Firstly, to make the EIC a pioneer of a European approach, focusing on the relevant innovations in a responsible way, this unique combination of a research with the Innovation Accelerator, becoming a hallmark of excellence for innovation as a counterpart to the ERC for research, a very strong objective to crowd in private finance 3 to 5 times the level that we are investing. So really transforming the landscape for deep tech innovators, investments in Europe, and becoming the investor and supporter and funder of choice for the people with the big ideas, the people with the high risk innovations as a port of call. And this is really what we are aiming to build. Just to give you a snapshot of some of the main novelties in the funding that was announced last week, the Pathfinder very much builds on the previous FET program, but we will have this new role of program managers steering portfolios of projects. So if you take part in these calls, particularly the top-down calls, what we call the challenges, you will be working with other projects in that same area under the guidance of a program manager. We also have a novelty that we can provide additional funding to existing projects. So if there is a potential commercial opportunity from the results of a Pathfinder project, we can immediately give that project or some of the partners in that project an additional grant of €50,000 to test out the feasibility. And this will be used as well to look at cross-project or cross-portfolio initiatives, for example, on data sharing or looking at standardization issues. So this is a very flexible way of funding, not large amounts, but can be used extremely quickly. We will then introduce this new transition funding. It is both on the technology maturation and the business case development. We will offer up to €2.5 million per project. As it's a first year and we have a limited budget, this will be restricted to results either from European Research Council, proof of concepts, or the current FET projects, the pilot of the Pathfinder. This does not mean that you have to be part of that project, but it does mean that you have to take the results from that project and have the access and the rights to use those results. We then have the main funding instrument, the accelerator, which will be funded with over €1 billion this year. We are focusing on the blended finance. So this is the combination of grant and equity that we think is the most relevant, but there will be opportunities for grant-only support and for a new type of support where we will give a grant as a first step. And then based on how the project does, we can follow up immediately with equity investment. We are working to improve the EIC fund with faster decision-making, investment guidelines so that applicants, companies know the terms and the process when they go in their applications. The big change will be the application system. We will no longer require companies, startups to prepare a full application to apply. We will have a new system that will be launched, we hope this week, where companies can provide a video pitch, a short set of slides, and a short form, a short questionnaire. And we will use this and we will evaluate it immediately to see if it fits the main criteria for the EIC. If it does, then the company will be invited to prepare a full proposal, But to do so, they will have support. They will have access to the coaches from the Business Acceleration Services, and they will have access to the platform that will provide data analytics to help build their business case. We will then have cutoffs on a regular intervals for the full applications. We're also improving the seal of excellence. We will be asking for consent to share some information, basic information about the proposals with other funders to allow them to support the projects. We will be conducting interviews, the jury interviews, with all of these applications to really check the quality of the applications. And the Seal of Excellence companies will not just get the seal, they'll also get access to coaches, business acceleration services, the events with corporates, the whole EIC community. So here's an overview of the funding that has now been announced for 2021. So you'll see here that close to 1.1 billion euros for the accelerator. Just over half of this is entirely open innovations in any field, any technology, any combination, but we've also reserved close to 500 million for innovations which are addressing Green Deal or critical technologies in health and in digital. We then have the Pathfinder with over 300 million euros, so that's a larger budget than we've had for the FET in the past. And again, the majority of this is bottom up, but we've identified 5 challenges for specific targeted funding. And this is where the program managers will be particularly focusing. And then we have 100 million for this new instrument on transition. Again, the majority bottom up, but we have 2 areas, one on medtech and one on energy storage, that we will have reserved 40% of that budget. So it's a very exciting time for us, the launch of the full EIC. We really encourage you to look at it, to spread the word in Portugal. It's for companies, it's for researchers, it's for investors, and it will also be for potential partners, whether they're governments, corporates, who really need this access to this pipeline of amazing technologies, innovators, and companies that we hope to generate with the EIC. So many thanks.
Thank you very much, Kees, for your presentation. So thorough and exciting to know more about the way EIC is going to work. Our time is over, but I will just finish the next, use the next 1.5 minutes more or so to, first of all, to wrap up and say that we had vou falar em português, tivemos o ponto de vista da origem do EIC com o António Vicente, tivemos a perspectiva do Advisory Board com o Carlos Oliveira, a perspectiva do EIC com o Kees Sequeira e a perspectiva das pessoas do sucesso em propostas ligadas ao EIC com todos os empreendedores que estiveram presentes connosco. E eu a todos agradeço a presença. E isto dito, lembro-vos que neste momento nós somos a ANI, pegando ainda, voltando a pegar na expressão que o Carlos Oliveira usou relativamente à ANI, nós estamos muito entusiasmados por ajudar todos neste caminho de participar no EIC. Pertencemos a uma rede que é a rede PERIN, Portugal in Europe Research and Innovation Network, que une 7 instituições, concentra todas estas pessoas, mais especificamente estas na Agência de Inovação, e estamos cá para ajudar ao longo de todo o processo de submissão de propostas para conhecer o programa, ajudar nas entrevistas, na preparação das entrevistas, dar formação em como preparar melhor propostas. Temos connosco os pontos de contacto da Enterprise Network e estamos ligados ao resto da Enterprise Network. Somos uma equipa, pelo que fazia apenas um apelo e gostava que ficassem com isto referenciado. Nós queremos acompanhá-los, nós, a Agência de Inovação, nós, a equipa do AIC e nós também, a equipa da EEN. Para tal, é preciso que quando está a fazer a sua proposta, diga algures na proposta, escreva que está interessado em ser acompanhado quer pela EEN, quer pelos NCPs. Só dessa forma é que nós podemos acompanhá-lo, ou então, claro, se nos ligar diretamente e contactar qualquer um dos nossos pontos de contacto. Deixo-vos estes contactos, lembro-vos que todos estes contactos, todas as apresentações e todos os slides estão no site, quer no site da Perim, quer no site da Agência de Inovação, e agradeço, para além dos oradores todos, à equipa da Agência de Inovação que tanto trabalhou e tem trabalhado para todos nós. Obrigada a todos por terem estado presentes. Até breve, contamos convosco nos nossos telefones e nos nossos e-mails. Muito obrigada.